Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Caroline Rakus-Wojciechowski, and I am the Young Professionals Chairwoman and President for the UNA USA Brooklyn chapter. For those of you joining us tonight, this isn't one of our more lighthearted webinars or sessions, but it is one that needs to be discussed. So it is my distinct pleasure to welcome my friend Damilola Balogun to speak to the engaged members of civil society listening to this webinar about the ongoing End SARS protests going on in Nigeria that began in October of this year. And I've had the pleasure of working with Dami for this last year. We met during COVID on the Pan-African edition of the Youth Sustainability Development Conference that's going to be live in July of 2021. And he has been nothing but the most compassionate, supportive, talented, and just amazing people I've had the pleasure of meeting this year. And I'm really, really glad to call him my friend and mentor. And he is also incredibly accomplished. So I will let him talk a bit more about that.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you so much, Caroline, for the nice introduction. It means so much to me. I would like to appreciate UNA USA for allowing me come on this night to just discuss on some recent issues happening in Nigeria. And I am Damilola Balogun, a young Nigerian who is passionate about youth development, nation building, as well as sustainable development. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to having a wonderful discussion.
Thank you, Dami. Now, for those of us who don't know what's going on in Nigeria, there has been the End SARS protest that's been going on since October. Now, SARS stands for the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, and the protest, primarily dominated by youth, has campaigned for these last few months for policy reform and an end to police brutality and unjust governance towards Nigerian youth and citizens in general. And at the center of this lies economic inequality, poverty, and suppression of youth voices. Now, I asked Dami to come here because he is there on the ground. This is happening in his home in Lagos, and who better, honestly, than Dami to speak about this really concerning issue. I mean, I have cried with Dami over the phone several times, hearing him cry about what is going on, what is happening to his friends, his family, to Nigeria. And, you know, he is very proud of his country. And we are here with him tonight. We are here with everyone going through the hardships in Nigeria tonight. So thank you again for joining us. And with that, I will start off by asking Dami, how did we get here? And can you tell us a bit of the background and context to SARS in Nigeria and what led to the End SARS protest?
All right, thank you very much for the question. So SARS started in the year 1992. So what led to the bringing on board of SARS, that is the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, was in 1992 there was this heavy sort of riot between the police and then the soldiers. So the soldiers alleged that the police killed one of their members, and so in a way to retaliate, the soldiers dominated the streets of Lagos and started hunting for the lives of the police because they wanted to take vengeance. So that led to a lot of police leaving the streets of Lagos, and so every police was really just trying to disguise, okay, as just so that they don't lose their lives due to what's the current issue ongoing then. So that led to high rates of crime, that led to high rate of so many issues in Nigeria. And then as a result of that, so the then Inspector General of Police rather then said, okay, in order to solve this issue, then we bring in some people, some set of persons that would then come, that would necessarily not wear the police uniform, but that will just dressed in mufti, just to ensure that the crime rates in Nigeria then was reduced. So later in the 1990s, the issue was resolved between the police and the soldiers, and so the federal government thought, okay, it's fine to still keep the SARS working. So the SARS officials basically they are like an undercover police. They don't wear uniform, and then for the purpose of them existing, they were then given the roles of dealing with issues of robbery, the issue of kidnapping, and all of that. So that was actually in existence, and it was fun and also ongoing during that period. But over time, one thing we've noticed is that this set of persons have decided to start extorting youths in Nigeria. So once they see that, okay, you have tattoos, you have piercings, you have you are presumed to be a criminal based on the way you appear. So that has been on for a while now. I mean, that has led to some people who have been killed due to the fact that, okay, you're stopped, and then of course profiling, and then they ask you to, okay, what do you do? Okay, are you okay? The next thing they tell you that an internet fraudster, can I have your phone? They want to really like just invade on your privacy, and once you don't follow through with this, then they shoot, and then that terminates the person's life. So as a result of that, at first the government heard about the complaints by the citizens. That was later on, and then they said, okay, they're going to scrap the special anti-robbery squad team in Nigeria. So the government just said that, but these men were still on the streets. And then the one that led to this recent outbreak and this outbreak of protest was the one that happened in Delta State, if I'm not mistaken. So there was this particular guy that was shot by the special anti-robbery squad officers. He was asked for money and then maybe for his phone, and then he refused, and then he was shot. And then this man, there was actually a video to this explanation. So they were actually shot. The guy was actually shot rather, and then they drove his car off. I mean, it was really so sad. And then the whole noise started from Twitter, and everyone said, okay, no, finally, the government has promised us that, okay, they've actually taken off this guy, they've taken these guys off the streets, but situations still remain the same. So it's more like empty promises. So at the end of the day, we just okay, all youths in Nigeria said, okay, it's fine, let's assemble this, let's protest, and let's get this, because really we cannot continue to live this way. So from all of this, that led to the early October out the outrageous protest, because really it was actually a very necessary process, no, sorry, protest rather, because a whole lot of youths were being affected. Even I myself, I've actually suffered from police harassment. That was like around August. So I mean, they will just stop you. Of course, I am almost a lawyer because I'm just in my law school. So I mean, when the guy stopped me and I was able to explain to him that, oh, you don't have this right under the law to do this. So it felt like, oh, this one knows what it's saying. So let me just let him go. So most times, once they see that you probably don't know what you're up to, or they see that, okay, you have money or something, they just want to get something from you and just go off. So it was really a sad one, or it has really been a sad one. So at the end of the day, this led to the protest, and of course, it got to a time that it went out of hand, because the protesters were going against the policemen, and then the policemen were trying to protect themselves, and then all of this was happening before we then had the final the issue of the October 20th open fire on citizens. So that is ongoing. Investigation is ongoing as to how, if it was the soldiers or it was the Nigerian government at all that ordered the soldiers to kill the protesters or not. But I mean, there are a lot of pressing evidence to show that, okay, this was actually what happened, that it was actually the Nigerian government that did this. And then the Nigerian government is also saying, okay, we didn't do this. It was actually some non-state armed personnel that actually carried out this. So while investigation is still ongoing, I feel like, okay, the whole approach, the whole process as to how this went was really, really not nice, because of course, if government tells its people that, okay, we're going to do this. At first they said, okay, what we have scrapped, or we have finally scrapped SARS, and then we bring on to you SWAT. That's okay. So the guys were like, okay, who are the people that will still be in SWAT? Then they said, okay, it's still the same set of persons. And the whole process was not just so clear. And due to the fact that there was a lack of confidence between the government and the people, that led to the people not even leaving the streets. Because over time, you've told us that you're going to stop this from happening, but it seems to never stop. So how do you expect us to believe that you're going to actually get this off? So I feel at the end of the day, the lack of trust between the government and its people was actually really clear. And also for the fact that the movement was largely tagged as youth, and as well as the fact that this set of persons, I felt I'm very, very fine with the protest. But if they were to be another protest another time, if at all any, I would say okay, they should be more strategic this time, because of course you're dealing with the government. The government, the government, because I keep telling people that the government determines a whole lot. I mean, after God is government, because the government, they determine how far you live, they determine the income you get, they determine the school you get, they determine everything. So at the end of the day, I felt okay, if you want to protest next time, like you make it more strategic, or rather, because to be honest, these people were down to even negotiate with governments, but the government kept on going left and right, going left and right. So it really did not make the thing really, really clear. And as I speak to you today, a whole lot of properties, lives have been lost, people are still missing due to this protest. So it is really a sad one year, and then we just hope that over time things will really get changed.
And let me ask you, can you give us a bit of a picture of what the demography in Nigeria is like? How I've read that there's a majority of youth in Nigeria that comprise the population of Nigeria. And what does the economic inequality or imbalance look like in that scenario? And how have you seen this police brutality disproportionately affect and marginalize youth?
All right. Yeah, thank you very much for this question. So, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, Nigeria, it is stated that Nigeria's population, 60% of Nigeria's population are largely youths. And out of this 60%, 40.1% of this youth are unemployed. So it is more, we have the youth who constitutes the larger part of the demography. So at the end of the day, these youths are not empowered. These youths are not supported, because, of course, just as you are in the US, as a Nigerian youth, if you stay in your house, it's possible for you to make some money online. It's possible to do some online businesses, and it's possible that okay, you're getting extra money from somewhere. So okay, there's this stereotype in Nigeria that okay, if you drive a very nice car as a young person, then they feel like you're um into illegal businesses. So, but that's the old narrative we're trying to change. At the end of the day, I won't lie to you. When it comes to the economic inequality in Nigeria, youths are really, really affected, because generally we're not empowered by the government. So this is the statistical analysis. You have the people of 60 years above constitute about not up to 25%. So when you have this set of persons who are just like 15% controlling the lives of those of controlling the lives of 85% of people, who half of that are youth. And then this guys, okay, you actually did not even empower us. It's fine, we're trying to do our businesses, we're trying to do our thing, we're trying to make sure that life is better for us. At the end of the day, the only thing they want from you is just so you protect them. You're the government, you swore to like okay, protect these guys, and at the end to protect the citizens. And at the end of the day, if you just try to meet up um that particular thing. So at the end of the day, it's not even, well, I just feel that okay, you can always like drag the government did not do this, government did not do that. At the end of the day, I just feel that really a whole lot of Nigerians have actually just they actually just disinterested in politics, especially the Nigerian youths. So I feel that if we are the largest and the most populated demography, I feel like we have the power to decide our fate. So at the end of the day, many are just so disinterested in politics. So which makes me wonder, really, are we actually really ready to make this change we want? So although due to this protest, I have seen a whole lot of youths now that are interested in politics and are willing to see how they can get into power and change things, change the narrative. Because of course, we have the demography, and this demography really, there's something that is called the youth bulge. So the youth bulge is like, of course, when the youth demography is like larger. So at the end of the day, these youths are visionaries. These youths have strengths, and at the end of the day, is the way the policies and the way things are in the country that determines if this youth action will be translate into positive or negative action. So if, for example, like a very very enabling environment in the first place, of course the 40% youths would probably be somewhere, or you probably be doing businesses, or probably be in laboratories making innovations, which at the end of the day will lead to national development. But if you don't do that, at the end of the day, this positive energy will be channeled towards negative action. So at the end of the day, I just believe that the whole NSAS protest has really made Nigerians understand that okay, it's actually beyond. Actually, once again, the NSAS protest, aside police brutality, I see the NSAS protest as issue transcending into other issues. Okay, so you have the issue of corruption, you have the issue of bad governance, you have the issue of poor leadership. All of this was just actually reflected in the NSAS protest, because at the end of the day, at some point, the protesters were going beyond okay, police, okay, it's not even any police brutality again. What we want now is we want good leadership, we want this, we want that. And also they had five demands. So the five demands included the fact that okay, some of the families that actually have been affected by these policemen, let them come out and then be compensated. The policemen that actually have taken part, name them and then let them face the appropriate penalty as stated in the law. All of this the government was the government was not just like showing that okay, this is the direction, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to do, of which the government later answered that okay, we've heard the demand, so come down with the protest and then we can proceed and work on your demand. But at the end of the day, the protesters never believed it, because of course, right from time there has been no confidence and trust in the government. So it just kept on going and kept on going, and then at some point, I could actually even feel it, because I felt that I mean I was in my house and then I was hearing gunshots. Of course, everyone was scared. I mean, some even died as a result of stray bullets. I mean, it was actually a really pathetic one. And then I mean, up to today, of course, we have some inquiry panel trying to look into the matter and trying to solve some of this issue. Of course, the government is already taking action to compensate families of those that are affected by um, the police harassment and some of the people that lost their lives too during the NSAS protest. Sorry, I'm trying to cover a whole lot of things with your question. So yeah.
No, absolutely. And I appreciate it. And I'm sure anyone who listens today, who is here today, and who listens after this will also appreciate it as well. And it's just, I was speaking to someone also from Yanga, and she's from Tanzania, and she was so inspired by everything going on in Nigeria and how the youth are taking action. And just as you said, so many youth now are trying to take back the power by pursuing politics, and they've established this interest that previously did not exist. And Nigeria has truly paved the way for that. I know between the US politics and what's going on in Nigeria, absolutely, like I've never considered having a career in politics, but here we go, back to school for an MPA. So yeah, everything going on in Nigeria is truly inspiring. I think the rest of Africa as well. And I think it'll definitely be an important issue moving forward. And even the UNGA this year, the 75th anniversary, wants to put Africa in the lead, wants to put Africa to pave the way on how we should be approaching these issues. So you're making waves. But I spoke about the U.S. government. So both the US government and Nigeria are both technically a federal republic. So how would you compare the governments of Nigeria and the United States for our viewers, both being federal republics during this last administration, specifically the Trump administration? Do you think the US or other nations had an influence in the way the Nigerian government has been handling these requests of the youth and in addressing these major inequalities?
Okay, so Nigeria being a federal republic means okay, it's meant to manage its own affairs by itself. So at the end of the day, one way we both would not lie that when it comes to international law and international diplomacy and policies, there are certain countries that have influence over some other countries, either by the fact that they trade or by the fact that it gets financial aids or grants from that particular country. So I mean I can't specifically say if the United States has influence on the Nigerian government, but I think of course there was this recent that reminds me there was this recent report, detailed report on what went down on the October 2020 October 20 2020 Lekki protest um, massacre. So that was by the CNN. So it was actually produced, and then after CNN, after investigation, released the report. So the next thing the Nigerian government was going to say was that okay, this is CNN actually did not make the appropriate investigation. So CNN said, okay, we carefully did this, and then of course it is left for you to say that okay, this is why we're wrong, and not for you to just say that our investigation is totally wrong, or you produce something that counter our investigation or our reports really. So at the end of the day, CNN has helped to like come into play in the sense that okay, they've actually put them on their toes and make them realize that okay, look, the world is watching. Either by influence of one country or the other, there's this checks and balance that okay, you can't just do whatever you want to do, even though you feel that okay, you can always do what you want to do. So at the end of the day, influence of one country or specifically in the US and Nigeria, I mean, it's for I'm sure of certain positive actions though, because I'm aware of certain programs that have been undertaken by the United States Mission, the consulate office here in Lagos. I'm trying to empower you, trying to support some young social entrepreneurs. So I feel that that's well and good enough. But at the end of the day, Nigeria has to manage its business. So it is what it is. Nigeria is a federal government, and whatever influence you get or whatever way you're being influenced by another country does not matter. So if at all anything, just try to like just try to like match up the, the basic reasons why you exist really, because at the end of the day, the Nigerian government, of course, they have a whole lot that they want to do, and I'm sure that of course with time they would be able to do it. So what I'm just really concerned about is just the fact that okay, just make sure that the youths are the future of this country. There's really no plan B. Just try, the plan A is just to make sure to empower us. I mean, like I said earlier on, the United States consulate office rather in Lagos tries to support this small initiative, NGOs, and all of that. So I feel that if the Nigerian government can emulate more of that and see how that works, and really things will really get better, because of course, if youths are being empowered, if youths are being engaged, and they're actually doing what they have to do, I mean, there would really be no need to say, okay, there will be no need to say, okay, you're probably doing illegal businesses, and then there will be no even need to for police harassment. And actually, to the police to have been underpaid. I mean, a policeman at some point even personally told me that okay, he gets about, is it 40,000 naira for a month? That's roughly around that's not up to 120 US dollars for a month. So I mean, he has to like take care of his family. He has to send his child to school. So I mean, at the end of the day, you might be tempted to stop a young person on the road who he sees uses a good phone, a nice car, and like, okay, give me this. And that one says, okay, I'm not going to give you this. It might just be like tempted to like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to get this because I have to do what I have to do. So at the end of the day, it still boils down to the government. The government should just try and make sure everyone is well settled and everything happens good, at least if not perfectly, like to an extent where everyone is able to is able to deal with themselves and they don't have to really interfere in other people's businesses.
I hear that. No, I understand that. But you brought up actually an interesting point about support. Could Nigerian youth, for example, use more support from the United Nations? And what response has the United Nations shown?
All right, so the last time I read through the United Nations, of course, the United Nations it's a confederate body, and then the United Nations openly condemned the action of the Nigerian soldiers, that okay, this is wrong, and then it's actually inhuman, and this is not the way things should go. Of course, the United Nations cannot come down to Nigeria and tell Nigeria that okay, this is how you do your thing. This is the United Nations, of course, just openly condemned the action of the Nigerian government as well as the African Union. So it still boils down to the government doing the appropriate things, and of course, the thing that can happen is they will openly condemn, and then, but at the end of the day, it's just to make sure that we that are inside, we get really up on ourselves, and then we're really determined to make things change. As I speak to you, an average, okay, yeah, a major issue also that disturbs Nigeria is the rate of illiteracy is alarming. So not everybody. I mean, they're about 70%, if not more than 70% rate of illiteracy in Nigeria. So a whole lot of people don't even know their rights. A whole lot of people, once they see policemen, they are scared and they like, okay, want to run away. Of course, because at the end of the day, you don't know your rights. You're not educated to the point to know that okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I'm supposed to go about it. So at the end of the day, it turns out to be what it is, because of course Nelson Mandela's famous quote on education is a weapon to winning different battles largely. So at the end of the day, if you're not educated, you're not literate enough, you might not just be able to do a lot of things. Your mind not opened, and then you probably don't know how things are being done. So you just feel like okay, this is the way things are. And at the end of the day, it's actually a weapon against the people, so you don't know how things are supposed to go. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's really of a great advantage weapon to any government that really wants to deal with its people and have control over their lives. So at the end of the day, it is just what it is. It still boils down to a whole lot of social lack of social amenities and social programs that the government ought to carry out.
Now, that is a wonderful segue for me to shamelessly plug YSDC because that's exactly what your organization has been doing. Please let our viewers and our listeners know the wonderful mission of YSDC, how you got started with the idea, what inspired you. I mean, I think it's obvious what inspired you, but now how we plan as the co-founders of YSDC to now bring it to the Pan-African context.
All right. So my general vision in life is, I mean, I was discussing with my friend today, yesterday. I was telling her that I think for me, I just discovered that okay, I've always have this entrepreneurial skill. So I mean, right from time, I never really waited on anyone, and this happened personally because I mean, I lost my dad when I was 5, so I grew up with my mom, and then it was just only really there was nobody. So I just learned like, okay, I have to always do what I have to do myself. So I felt at some point that okay, I really attend. Yes. So what happened was that I attended the National Model UN in New York. So I attended it and it was really mind blowing. Of course, my first time of traveling, I met different people and I'm like, wow, this is the way the world is. Of course, I traveled and then I saw this is the way the world is. So I felt I'm going back home and I really want to make things happen. And I really don't want to wait on the government. Of course, I mean, the government, if I have to wait, I'll wait. But the little I can wait, let me just start to put into action. So I felt this was actually what it is. Let's just see. I mean, I just had the idea in mind. And then, I mean, of course, they say on 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. The idea easy, execution is everything. So execution is not easy. So I just tried to go through stress myself. I mean, I was writing my final exams in the university as well. So I just tried to see how to make the first edition work out. So the plan was, okay, which we spoke to some secondary school students in Lagos, and we discovered that they don't know the full meaning of SDGs as compared to me meeting with a guy, my friend, who is a Chinese in the UN, in the National Model UN. And then he told me he has been doing the National Model UN since when he was in high school. And then I compared that with the one I have. I didn't even know about the National Model UN in the high school. I got to know about this in the university. So, I mean, I just felt, okay, it's really important that I go back home and I just shed more light on this to people. So, the style of learning here in secondary school is that, okay, you're taught, you sit, you look, and then your teacher tells you everything. So the plan was to change the game, try to put them in the midst of their friends, explain what issues to them, and lift them, let them come up with solutions themselves. So that way they are becoming independent thinkers and they are really becoming bigger individuals. So at the end of the day, at the end of the first edition, the 2019 edition, I mean, it was really fulfilling, even if it was not easy. I mean, I could see that, okay, at some point, the students were already informed about the SDGs and they were really, really fulfilled. And then about 100 of them in attendance felt really, really good about it. And one of the girls there said to me that you really, really inspired me. Of course, I've never even seen her again. But I mean, that statement kept me like, wow, I'm happy I was able to do this. And a whole lot of persons they've learned about this. So that was the motive and the push. And I felt, okay, let's do this again in 2020. Of course, when I already met you, and then thanks so much. Actually, thanks so much for being a part of YSDC, and thanks so much for your non-stop support. So, I mean, we were able to do the 2020 edition together, and now we plan the 2021 Pan-African edition that we really want to deal with social entrepreneurs in Africa, because largely in the world, the demography, the highest population demography in the world, in Africa and in Nigeria, are largely the youth, and the youths are the future. And so we have so many grassroots initiative, community initiatives trying to do one thing or the other, and they really have not figured it out. So the plan is to try to give them an accelerated knowledge in terms of experience, exposure, and assist with finance if we're able to be able to make them scale up and make a wider impact with their initiative. I believe that's the only way we can set Africa on the right path and set the world at large, really. So if everyone is able to do one thing or the other, I mean, it's going to go a long way. So my general motto is, I don't really wait on government. Do not ask what your government will do for you. Instead, ask what you will do for your government. I think that's the quote by Franklin D. Roosevelt, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
so. Yeah, that's been a great motive working for me.
See, everyone, I have to be Dami's cheerleader because he is far too humble. So he won't even talk about himself, but he's just so intrinsically motivated. He is the most driven, he inspires me day in, day out. But back to the subject at hand, I'm curious to know, there are protests going on in the United States, there are rallies, there are campaigns as well, and everyone here is freaking out because, hey, all of this is still happening. COVID is also still happening, and I can't even imagine what that's like in Nigeria right now. So how has COVID impacted the protests? Is the government expressing any concerns for public health? And why, if they're not, why aren't they prioritizing that by trying to negotiate with the youth who are a part of these protests?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for the question. So, of course, COVID it's out there. So, after the protest, the National Disease for Control Nigeria, okay, the numbers of infected persons started rising up as a result of the protest and all of that. So, at the end of the day, I still tell you, they still due to illiteracy. I still tell you today, some Nigerians don't believe COVID exists. I don't know, Olajide, I'm sure you can testify to this. I don't. Are you there, Olajide?
Yes, I am.
How many Nigerians do you think believe that COVID actually exists? If I told it exists, it exists in Nigeria.
Really, really less. Like it's a thing I have to deal with my immediate family. Some of them still doubt it's a myth or something. Probably, I think it's largely influenced by the distrust in the government, you know.
Yeah. So Caroline, you can still see that a whole lot of Nigerians don't believe COVID exists. They just believe it's another way the government wants to do their thing. It's another way the government wants to exploit its people again. It's another way the government, or maybe the government is just following the Western ideas that, okay, since everyone is locking down, let's just lock down. So I mean, dealing with that itself, it's been a big issue because of course people, you find people that use their nose mask and like, well, which we don't, this COVID does not exist. Please, the government is just lying to us. So all of those things, distrust again. So dealing with that and having to deal with the issue of the outbreak, the virus itself, has not been easy. So I personally know, I personally have a friend who lost her dad due to COVID, and then I mean it is really really a big issue. So I mean I really just hope that it does not get worse, of course. And then the government trying to negotiate with you, I would call it a form of negotiation because, of course, it's not going to be an equal power because right, right as the protest started, the government has always been asking, okay, so who are the leaders for this protest? Let's meet with them. Let's settle things with them. And the protesters publicly declared that we don't have any leader. So we don't just want a situation where you just make some set of people and then you're able to buy them over and then you don't meet our demands. So all of these statics, all of this style really caught the government unaware because it was not a system they were used to. And and they allegedly rather, intervene in a way that is actually not very nice due to the opening of fires against the citizens in the Lekki massacre. So, but investigations are still ongoing, and then we hope to get the very best of it. Of course, as a student of law, you have to hear both sides, fair hearing. They've said this, the government has said they've not done this. The people said, okay, you're responsible for this. So while investigation is ongoing, so we just might not just want to talk about that till we have the um final decision by the panel.
I hear you. But then what direction do you think this is now heading towards, and what are the implications and impact that the protests will have and that the NSARS movement will cause?
A whole lot, to be very honest, because I mean, I'm not sure the government really is not happy with the whole protest because, of course, all of these protests, they affect the reputation of the government. They affect the reputation of the country because, of course, as a Nigerian, you get there, okay, they're like, oh, these are the guys, these are the people that, these are this, and this and that. So, I mean, it's affect our reputation. So, in the first place, the government is not happy. And then I can tell that for once. And of course, there have been some economic hardship after the protest. I don't know if this is deliberate. I really don't know because there have been high price in petrol, high price in electricity tariffs, a whole lot of economic hardship, and then Nigeria is currently in its second recession in 5 years. So there's an economic recession. The rate of inflation has eaten 14.1%. So we really don't know what's happening. So the post effect of the protest and COVID for 2020 is really affecting Nigerians. And you find there's a projection that a whole lot of people will become poorer and poverty lines rate is going to increase in Nigeria. But we just believe that all of this still centers around the government's policies. So if you try to assist one way or the other, all of these things, then I mean there will be no much issue to deal with, to be honest.
Got you. So then two more questions left. The first, but they're similar. The first is, what can young Nigerians do? What can Pan-African youth do? What can they do to help?
All right, so I just I wouldn't. We all have different ways, and we have emotions. We have different emotions, temperament largely. We have different way we react to things. So as a Nigerian youth or as a Pan African youth, of course, I will just tell you like it's time that we get into the system of politics. We need to direct our own lives. So I'll put to you that a whole lot of African presidents are largely between the age of 70 and above. So I mean, it is important that we get into politics, so we get part of the decision making, and we really just don't put the I don't care attitude. Of course, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy because these guys already have this way that they actually try to make things rotate around themselves. So trying to break the status quo is not going to be easy. So first off, try to get into decision making either from your local government, either from your grassroots um, initiative, or try to just do something that makes sure that puts you in, and then they are able to like see that okay, finally these people are ready. And most importantly, try to take action. If you're interested in any small initiative in your community that is into one thing or the other, maybe definitely into nation building or anything, just try to join, try to subscribe, and try to understand. And most importantly, a larger part disturbing Africa and Nigeria as a whole, this one I must personally say is the higher rate of illiteracy. So one way or the other, please, I mean, I enter public transport sometimes and I'm like, oh, why are people thinking like this? But of course, it is what it is. It's what you feed your mind that you get in return. So at the end of the day, we just need a clear exposure, a clear exposure. It's not, I'm actually even saying all these things and I'm actually thinking of how it's going to work out because I have myself, I think it's really going to take a while for all of these things to fall in place. But nevertheless, as an African youth, just make sure that you try to do your thing and then you try to see what you like, what you're passionate about, and try to assist your community. And at the end of the day, that would definitely lead you up to assisting the country as a whole and the continent later.
I think you and I both can get behind the saying that education is power and is self-empowering. So absolutely, I hear you. And if you saw me erupt into a big smile, it's because I just realized that every single call, every single conference that you and I have presented at for YSDC, you always end with a call to action. And I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah.
So the final question I have is, what can the global citizens of the United States do? Because I know anyone listening here from the United Nations Association of the USA, they will want to do something to support. So what can we do to support the youth in Nigeria and prevent them from being marginalized? And how can we help in general, especially during COVID?
Personally, I think the way international persons can assist in times like this is um, maybe maybe try to of course there is a form of donation that some victims are actually being some victims of the NSAS protest are actually being assisted with. So if there's any way you come across anything on the platform, or you could Google it for some account numbers or account details, you could make donations to some family members that lost their loved ones, that lost their properties. So that way it would assist them to come back financially. So yeah, that's that. And also, most importantly, it's fine to do your on the ground investigation if you want to have dealings with Africans, if you want to have dealings with Nigerians, you want to have dealings with anybody from any part of the world. But largely, Nigerians are not all Nigerians are criminals. I mean, we have some legit Nigerians doing businesses, and so just the fact that they are Nigerians or anything really does not mean you should not have this collaboration with them. So largely to any international person, I mean, Nigerians are actually hardworking. So if you have the opportunity to work with a Nigerian youth, you should always give them a chance to prove themselves. And then as really that. And what else? What else? Try to maybe try to share the story. Try to share the story, and then the more the story goes out there, the more the government is actually being kept in check. So I feel that that is really what I can say. That's really I can say.
My friend, thank you. And now
Yeah.
to any of our listeners on this call with us, do you have any questions for our guest?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, thank you for organizing this and thank you for the overview of the situation currently in Nigeria. And my question is concerned from the perspective of human rights and a legal perspective. Undoubtedly, the police brutality attacks the right to life and the physical bodily integrity of a person. And that's number one, of course. But currently, I'm interested in the mostly about the right to protest and how the states are using or abusing the COVID situation in terms of public gatherings. For example, I did some research about Europe, and some countries are amending or even suspending their laws on public gatherings due to COVID, which is somewhat understandable, but also can be very easily abused. So my question to you, Damilola, is how is the Nigerian state, Nigerian governments and authorities, have they done any amendments to any laws on public gatherings, or have they suspended any laws using the COVID-19 as a pretext to these amendments?
All right. Thanks for the question, Vera. So, prior to this time, there was public health law that was actually passed to ensure that there's social distancing and ensuring that people don't have public gatherings. So over time, trying to ease the lockdown and trying to see how things have gotten better with COVID, some of these laws were actually then suspended. So at the end of the day, during the SARS protest time, these laws were actually not in operation anymore because the government already announced that, there could be some form of social gatherings. So at the end of the day, then that was already a time when the issue of COVID-19 in Nigeria was already getting better. So we're already getting positive results, less deaths or no deaths at all, and then less infection. So some of these laws were actually not in operation during this end protest, this SARS protest. So at the end of the day, since the laws were not actually in operation again, and then of course from the human rights angle, the Constitution expressly providing for a right to protest. So there was a need for the people to say on the ground of public health and on the ground of, since the issue of COVID is now settled or to an extent is really not affecting again, then we can take to the streets to press on our demands. If it were to be the early times of the first wave of COVID in Nigeria, of course it will become criminal, it will become illegal to have any such of protest. But it was due to the fact that the laws were not actually in operation as at that time, and due to the positive reports from the COVID-19 and having been able to improve over time in terms of response to the infection, people then felt it's time to push on this protest. So yeah, that's that. And at the end of the day, again, one important point is that the Nigerian government really, like I said earlier on, a whole lot of Nigerians don't believe that COVID in the first place exists. They believe COVID is a myth. So at the end of the day, they really did not care, due to the fact that you see illiteracy and lack of education playing its role here. So they really did not care. So they just want to get back on the street, do what they want to do, and make sure it is actually what it is. And at the end of the day, you find out that in the first place, if the governments are really supported or had enlightened the people in the first place in terms of becoming more educated or making programs available for people to learn, and so they are able to they are able to have confidence and trust in the government in the first place. They might not really have been an outbreak of such. They could have been another form of negotiation and maybe not a protest, which would not even come into contemplation due to COVID-19. So it's an issue transcending to another issue, So it is really a sad one, and we hope things get better soon. I hope I was able to answer your question. You're on mute. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
She says yes.
Yes, thank
Amazing. And one more person. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I think I should correct this. The NSAS protest is not ongoing. It has been suspended. And then we are not talking about the fact that the government has decided to clamp down on NSAS protesters, and the bank account of several people were frozen. I think at some point someone's international passport was seized and things like that.
Okay.
Dami, are you going to talk about that?
Yeah. So, Olajide, so yeah, I was actually going to talk about this, and at the same time, I was careful not to talk about it as well because, it's currently it's currently an ongoing court case, of course, because the Central Bank of Nigeria um allegedly froze actually because there's a court document to that effect. So I mean, it's due to my profession and due to being a student of law, so we're taught to like not always give some open discussion on some cases that are pending in court. So that's why I really did not even touch on that part. But a bit of that part really is that the government is trying to retaliate and trying to victimize some of the NSAS protesters that are actually being tagged as the leaders. So the investigations are still ongoing, and then it's currently in court, like I said earlier on. So I think it is best said when the court gives a verdict on it. So, but largely, what I believe is that it is not really the first of its kind. I mean, we have instances where governments across the world always try to retaliate with some of the citizens that try to take some bold step against it. So, I mean, to an extent, I believe the old story, but I'll just keep it at that, and I'll let the court give its verdict before I give a further discussion on it.
But thank you for that clarifying point.
Yeah.
Awesome. If there are no more questions, calling once, calling twice. Awesome. Thank you, Dami. Thank you for agreeing to speak with us and to make the US more aware, to make our international community at large more aware of what's going on in Nigeria and your perspective on how we can improve, what needs to be done, and the future implications. So I'm always grateful to have you here. I'm grateful to have you as a friend, and I will speak to you later this week. But thank you again for being here tonight. It meant a lot that you would come out and support our organization, and I'm always happy to support you, man. Always happy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks everyone for attending, and thanks for taking out your time to listen to me.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Dami. Thank you, Vera, for having this.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Good night.